AI to Go podcast.
Welcome everybody to today's AI to Go podcast episode. Today we're talking to Ewelina Kurtys, strategic advisor at FinalSpark, which is a Swiss research lab working on energy efficient biocomputing. We'll get into that later. And she's a CEO at EKAI, a consulting firm focused on neuroscience products. I know lots of scientific terms, but we will break it down together, and at the end, you'll understand its relevance. So let's jump right into it. Welcome, Evelina.
Hello, nice to be here.
Great to meet you. You were born in Poland. You speak 4 different languages based on your LinkedIn: English,
Yes.
French, Italian,
French
and Polish.
only a little bit, I understand. Yes, very little.
Okay. We won't test you.
But other are fluent, yes.
Perfect. You studied biotechnology and neurosciences in Poland and the Netherlands.
Mhm.
Then you worked as a postdoc researcher for King's College in London before you entered the business world, first as a founder and now as a strategic advisor. I'm sure your 8-year-old self would be super proud of you. Did you have any dream job as a child?
As a child, I always wanted to be a scientist. I was dreaming about this, and I realized this dream by doing a PhD, and I stayed a little bit in academia also as a postdoc. But I also was always curious about later, actually, in life. I was curious also about other things, how life looks outside academia. So I knew that I will never stay forever there. And my next dream job was in industry. But I didn't know what should that be
I
before I
dreamed
started.
to become like a doctor for animals when I was like 8 or 10, right? What made you dream about a scientific career back then?
I don't know. I was just fascinated by this. Maybe I had this vision, of old scientists in the past who was sitting alone in the lab, mixing some substances, and that was I don't know. I just thought it's fascinating, and I always wanted actually to understand and to know more, because I always believe that if I understand more, then I will that life will be easier for me, and that actually is true. I think in some way, because I believe that education really helps a lot in living, although you can also choose something else. But I think I always wanted to know more. I wanted to know the secrets. And I was curious what is to understand more, to know what is going on around me. And I was actually always interested in life science, because I always was curious about the questions of what is the texture, what is how things are really built, like in terms of human body, or for example, why something is a poison, another thing is a drug. So I don't know. I was always triggered by such a stuff.
Very interesting. We will get into some of the secrets that you discovered as your scientist career progressed in a bit. Now, you have a very unique career path. You're now working at the intersection of science, technology, business, and entrepreneurship. How did you discover this unique combination?
Well, by experimenting, because when I was living at academia, I had absolutely no idea about how industry works. But I started to work in a small company. I get some training in sales, business development, a little bit some project management, and I could learn what are the options. And then I realized I love to talk to people. I love to explore. So everything related to business development, to commercial work is perfect for me. But it's just trial and error. I just did this, and I realized that this is it, with no doubts. And I was lucky. Then I was exploring. I learned about artificial intelligence. I learned how many possibilities it brings. So I started to study this, and I started to work on commercial applications of AI in industry. And later I started to work on step further on the future of AI, what we will discuss today, the biocomputers.
Wow, incredible. You mentioned like you use a lot of trial and error, right? Which is also a scientific method. It's very structured and systematic, right?
I don't know
What
if it's
role?
systematic, but you're just trying. I think in life it's not so systematic. You just try new things, and sometimes you are happy, and sometimes you're not happy, and then you make conclusions.
Okay, so it's less scientific than I originally thought.
Yes, it's
Um,
less organized, definitely.
how would you describe what kind of role intuition and creativity play in scientific research? It's a very structured field, right?
Yes, I think, on the daily basis, it matters more the technical abilities, because you just have to, at least in experimental biology, because that was my field, which is maybe very different than, for example, theoretical physics. But I think in experimental biology on the daily basis is important technical skills, because at the end you do a lot of things manually and it has to work out. So I would say, I'm not sure it's so creative, but it's more about technical skills. About, when you do something many times, then you get better. And I think also that, I don't know, I think if you're in science for a long time, then maybe ideas are natural coming, because you're sitting in the field, you do something, and then it's naturally you get more questions about which can be further research. So I think it's quite natural when you are in the field. And actually, I think creativity is just knowing very well some field, or maybe more than one field, and just knowing this very well. This brings creativity, because then you get some ideas. I think it's natural. We all have ideas, but if we don't know some subject, then we cannot have some creative, specific ideas on this.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm sure, especially in a scientific career, being an outsider does not help you get anywhere, right? So you need some baseline knowledge for sure. Um, we were mentioning that you hold a PhD in neuroscience. Now, to make it a bit more practical, what are some of the scientifically proven daily habits that everybody should practice, but few people do?
Oh, I think there are many of that. I love to listen to the podcast of Andrew Huberman, who is also a neuroscientist, and he's actually making a great literature screening about what you should do to live better. So what I use myself for sure is looking at the sunlight in the morning. I think it's because it sets up your circadian rhythm, so your brain knows that this is morning, and it should be more or less the same time every day. And not drinking coffee immediately after you wake up, but 60 to 90 minutes after. That's something also what I incorporated. So these are like the top things. Also, maybe avoiding social media. This is something what I'm fighting with. Is very difficult, but actually we know from neuroscience that watching reels or stuff, this is cheap dopamine, and it's very bad also to our brain. It's much better to focus on something, or just even to get bored and do nothing. So yeah, I think there are a lot of stuff, and of course from my PhD, actually a lot of useful tips, because my research was about the impact of nutrition on brain inflammation. So this is very practical, because I was studying different dietary components and looking how they can affect brain, and how they can help to cure some disease. So after that, actually, I started to look totally different on my grocery shopping, and I understood what does it mean to eat whole foods, not processed. And I think it gets a good habit that when you go to the shop, you just don't look at processed food as a food. You just don't consider this. So I think it's good. Something what I learned actually directly from my research. And of one maybe one more thing, which is also useful, is about exercise, because actually I was just there was just coincidence that my friend from the office was doing a lot of research about this, about how exercise can, for example, help to delay some neurodegenerative disease. So that's also something what I use and I recommend highly, because exercise help us also to keep our brain healthy, not only
Absolutely.
our muscles. So
I
yeah,
love
there are
following.
a lot of stuff useful.
Absolutely. I love following Andrew Haberman. It's really a lot of like very scientific podcast, but he makes it very practical at the same time, right? So I
Yes,
really
absolutely.
recommend that. Thanks for sharing. Now we mentioned a few of the habits that you should build, right? How do you build habits, right? On a meta level. How do I do that?
Well, I think you just have to, at the beginning, you have to force yourself. But later with time, people say that it can be 3 months. Yeah, but it depends maybe on the person. Just some pathways in our brain have to establish, and after some time, it just become easier. So I think at the beginning, we need always conscious effort to do something. So it's good to write down. Or also, what I do sometimes, I write the days of the month on the paper, and I cross the days in which I did something what I wanted to do. And after some time, it just becomes natural. You just do this. But it's always needed at the beginning, that you need to make this conscious effort.
So force yourself. How would I force myself? Like, what is the easiest step to get started?
Well, I think it depends on your values. I think it's always good to consider what is important for you. So not to follow some external advice too much, but just look inside yourself what you really want, what is important for you. And if something is really important for you, then I think you find a reason. You find also energy to do this. I think that's much easier when we have some kind of that we do something we believe something aligned with our values. That is easier. So I think it's the best source of energy.
Yeah, what gives you energy, right? Look for the phases that give you energy rather than drain it.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely.
Very interesting. You also founded Sync, that's a mental health app. Do you think we as a society are ready to openly talk about mental health? And are
Oh,
we
I
willing
think
to?
it depends maybe on the country. I live in the UK now, so actually they talk a lot about mental health quite openly. I think sometimes it's also exaggerated because I think some people take advantage of that, that they a little bit exaggerate. So I'm not a big fan of that. But I think what I believe is I don't really like this discussion because about the neurodiversity and all the other stuff because I think in many cases people just they take advantage. I say that I don't know, I cannot do something, so people should give me advantage so I don't have to do it. So I don't think it's fair. But what I really think is important is that psychology made huge progress since over the last 50 years, maybe 100 years. And it's really great to promote this knowledge about psychology, to make ourselves stronger, and to work on ourselves. And I think it's really really helpful. So I rather look on this side. So I don't think we should talk so much about mental health, but we should rather maybe talk about tools, how to make our life better. Maybe not complaining so much, but try to search for solutions. How to make things better, because there are many solutions, proven by science. So we can use them, so and educate ourselves. So I think I'm big fan of that. But I think there are more and more resources now on the internet about this, about psychology. So if anyone is interested, it's possible to find this.
Do you have any recommendations what people should read or watch in order to stay informed and up to date?
Oh, I think well, it depends maybe on the way of thinking. So you have to find some psychology resources which resonates with you. I just started to read a book which is called Psycho Cybernetics, and I think this is really great book. But it was written, it's crazy because it's written, I think 50 years ago. It's just unbelievable. That's why I said that this psychology did huge progress. And I think it's really interesting about how we can build our self-image and how it can change our life. So these are all psychology tools. So I can recommend this, but of course it depends. What else I read? Just thinking. I like a lot also the books of Jordan Peterson, but I know that his style is a bit direct, so not everyone enjoy this. But I like his books, and I'm just thinking what else I can recommend. Yeah, I think they're just general books about the neuroscience, but that depends if someone is interested about how. I think, oh, that's also interesting when we talk about brain. I think a very interesting book which I read is Why We Sleep, but it's more medical maybe, but I think it's very important aspect of our life. That we should sleep 8 hours per day and don't cut it. And another interesting topic in neuroscience, which I think is very important also for our daily life, is about dopamine. So there are a lot of books about dopamine, for example, molecule of more, and I think they are interesting because they refer to these things which we have today also, to that we sometimes get dopamine addicted because of social media or other stuff which are tempting, and sometimes it's too much. But it's good to learn how we can regulate dopamine in our brain so that it helps us.
Thank you so much. That's very interesting. I want to look a bit into the interplay of neuroscience and AI. So
Mhm.
essentially, we are building artificial brains now, right?
Yes.
Now, I'm curious to hear a bit about your perspective. I saw there's a recent MIT study talking about the use of ChatGPT in the context of essay writing. And they
Yes.
found that brain activity in using ChatGPT decreased by 47%. My question to you is, how do we ensure that AI makes us smarter and enhances our thinking rather than eliminating or decreasing it?
I have to admit, I have not read the paper, but I read a lot about this in social media, so I saw it's popular. And I honestly think that, every time we have new technology, it makes something easier for us. So, for example, in the past, we had to count in our heads, and now we have calculators. So, also, you could see that our brain is using less energy when we have to calculate something, but it's not necessarily a bad thing. So I think that technology can be very helpful. For example, when it helps us to do work faster, so we can achieve some results much faster. And it is something which is even necessary to do today, because if you don't use AI, then you will be much slower, and you will do much less things than someone else. So I think if we have some productivity tools which are working, and AI is definitely helpful in many tasks, then I think we should use them. And I personally think that training your brain or keeping your brain active can be done in other ways. So you can still use ChatGPT, but it doesn't mean you cannot read books or stuff like this. So I think it's good to make a distinction. So one thing is training yourself to make yourself better. So, for example, reading or educating yourself. And another thing is to work faster and having bigger output. And this is very important. If you can have more output with the same effort, you should definitely use it. So I think that I think the fact that our brain is less active, during some task because we use ChatGPT, I don't see a problem in this. But I would see a problem if someone would just, doesn't stimulate himself. So I think that's I would more look at this how we can stimulate ourselves to keep ourselves active. But it doesn't mean that we shouldn't use ChatGPT at work.
Yeah. So as long as you use it as a personal assistant, so to say, without
Absolutely.
outsourcing your own thinking completely, I think it's fine, and it's actually such a productivity tool,
Yes.
right? For you.
It's just
But
amazing. It's just amazing how many things it can solve. And now I use it. I'm just talking to it when I have my ChatGPT on my phone. And it really helps me so much. And, why should I waste time if I can do this so quickly with the ChatGPT?
as long as it doesn't replace critical thinking, right? I think that's the
Yes,
key.
absolutely. You still have to spend some time, to develop yourself. So yes, so you have to still stimulate yourself in some ways.
Absolutely. Um, Now imagine, Evelina, we are in a bar. We already had a few vodka shots,
Mhm.
and I ask you. We talk about work, and I ask you what you're working on at FinalSpark. How would you describe what you do in the simplest terms, without any
My work,
jargon? Yes,
my
without
work or a FinalSpark work.
both your role and also what FinalSpark does, without
Okay.
any jargon. So Tipsy Johannes understands what you do.
Yes. So what we try to do, we try to build computers from living neurons. So the same neurons which we have in our heads, and we try to put neurons in the lab, in vitro, on the dish, on the electrodes, and we try to send them some electrical signals and try to measure the response of neurons, which are also electrical signals. So we try to program them. And the reason why we do this is because neurons are 1 million times more energy efficient than digital computers. So we want to build a computer which will be much more energy efficient. So it will be a revolution in artificial intelligence, and also very profitable revolution because it will be very competitive as compared to digital hardware. So that's what FinalSpark does. And what I do with this, I work on the commercial side. So my work is mainly what I love to do the most. So talking, so talking with people. So we have external collaborators because our lab is available remotely. So we got a proposal from 34 universities from all over the world. We have selected 9 who got free access to our lab, and they can do experiments remotely. And also we have first clients because it's a really surprising side effect of our work. We didn't plan for this, but actually people reach out to us if they can get access to the lab, some companies, some individuals. So we also have some clients. Then we also promote our knowledge also with podcasters as today, and with the journalists. We try to promote this knowledge because it's totally new topic, biocomputers. Many people haven't heard about this, and we want to popularize this topic. And also because we get a lot of ethical questions because we work on living neurons. So we also get a lot of questions regarding ethics. So this is why we also talk to philosophers, and we try to encourage them to do some research on biocomputing. So that's the things which I do for
It's a
finance,
very
and
broad.
also talk to investors. Oh, I forgot about this. So we also consider accepting investor, because so far FinalSpark is self-funded by the founders Fred Jordan and Martin Kutter. They are two entrepreneurs from Switzerland. They fund FinalSpark because they have another company which is very profitable. But we are considering to accelerate our research with external investment, and we try to raise 50 million Swiss francs. This would help us to speed up our progress.
Oh, wow. Let's try to unpack a little bit of the neurons in the equation to learn a bit more. So what you're doing is you take the architecture of the brain and you model it in a lab setting.
Not really,
Okay,
because we just take building blocks of the brain, which are neurons, but we don't try to reproduce the brain, because brain is very complex, so we wouldn't be able to reproduce this. So we just use neurons, but they are in different structure than in brain. Currently, we have little blobs of cells, 10,000 cells, 10,000 neurons each, around half millimeter diameter. So these are such a round structure for testing. But in the future, we want to build huge structures, even 100 meters long, which will be built out of living neurons. So this will not be like a brain.
okay, got it. And these neurons, they store and process information, essentially.
Well, yes, we know for sure because we can talk today. So that means neurons are able to process information. That's why we are thinking. So we know for sure it works from nature. However, in the lab, it doesn't work yet. So we try to do a lot of experiments. We stimulate neurons with electrical signals. We also send them some chemicals, neurotransmitters, like in the brain. We have currently dopamine or serotonin to affect the neurons' behavior. And we read the answers of neurons in form of electrical activity. However, at the moment, it doesn't work yet in a way that it can process huge amount of information. We were able, for example, to store 1 bit of information. So it's very early stage of the biocomputer.
Got it. So yeah, okay. These neurons, they can store tiny amounts of information and then they can process it, right? And then the
Yes,
third.
and not yet. They don't do this yet in the lab. I mean, they don't process meaningful information. Yes, but they can. Yes.
Okay. And the general idea is to make this like the human brain is very energy efficient, right?
Yes.
We only think when we have to. We have two different, I would say, systems of thinking. One is to react to immediate threats, and the other is more logical, rational, deep thinking, right? That's how I would frame it. And the neuron system that you are building is essentially there to serve as a computing platform, right? And the big promise is that this platform will be a significant amount more energy efficient than anything that we have in computing at the moment. Is that
Yes,
fair?
absolutely. Yes, we assume that it will be much more energy efficient because brain is efficient, and yes, it will be huge competition for digital hardware. Yes.
Okay, got it. Where are you in your startup journey? I understand it's a research lab still, right? Do you have first customers? When do you think this will become commercially available? What is your timeline?
Yes, so we are a startup, we are a private company, and we are trying to build the technology. We have first clients who are using our lab remotely, but of course, it's not the final product, because the final product is biocomputer, which will be general purpose computer, and we expect this to happen in around 10 years, assuming we get an investor. And then we are planning to build big bioservers. So they will be huge servers with living neurons, which will be available remotely. And you will be able to plug in, like today, to cloud computing. And you will be able to use this computational power, which will be much cheaper.
And in this research setting, like if you think about a system of neurons, are these living beings? What is the level of unit that we're looking at? Is this a living being or what is it?
Yes, this is one of the ethical questions which we get. We encourage philosophers to think about this. And many people ask us about consciousness, for example. Well, for the moment, we cannot really talk about this because we just have 10,000 neurons for experiments, and this is very common. Many researchers are using neurons in vitro on the dish to study neuroscience in the lab. So this is not a problem today, but it might be tomorrow, because when neurons will be able to process some advanced information, imagine ChatGPT, which is running on neurons, then of course maybe we can have the questions: is it conscious? So that's why we encourage philosophers to think about this, because we want that our work is accepted by society, and we want to do everything what is necessary to keep it ethical. So yes, that's important question for the future. Yes.
Yeah, I understand. Right now, it's more a philosophical question because the limit of the data set that you guys are building. But very interesting to think about that, right? What that would enable. I, I thought about one particular application area. If you can program neurons, human neurons or artificial neurons, I envision there are many, many interesting use cases in neuroscience, healthcare, medicine, also with some ethical boundaries, of course. But
Mhm.
what would you think are the most interesting application areas in that space?
So we believe that all the tasks which are done on artificial neurons today will be much better to be done on living neurons, and every task which where speed is not crucial. Let's say, because of course computers are much better in doing repetitive computation very, very fast, but brains are better in solving complex problems very efficiently. So we think that, for example, generative AI can be a good case for using living neurons much more efficiently.
And for humans, what do you think would be possible? I mean, that's far out in the future, right? But if you have living neurons instead of artificial neurons and you can program them, I believe that there might be vast opportunity in healthcare, right?
Well, in any area actually, and we can see that there is huge progress in AI, and it will change a lot our landscape of jobs, a lot of things. So I think it doesn't matter if it will be, at least for this point, it doesn't matter if it's living neurons or digital, because AI will change a lot. And actually, we don't want that end user will feel a difference, because living neurons will be just cheaper computational power, but the end user will have the same experience. So, for example, you use some software and you could use it on digital or on living neurons, so it's the same. So we think that doesn't really matter, but in general, AI will change everything for sure, and maybe we'll be able to do scientific research instead of humans. So yes, I think there will be a lot of changes.
Yeah. You mentioned generative AI as one application area, right? What do you think? Why is biocomputing a key enabler towards an even more powerful AI in the future? And what do you think will be the key benefits for companies and for end users?
For the biocomputer is the price, because it will be 1 million times more energy efficient. So the
1
cost of
million.
running the algorithm will be much cheaper, and it will be competitive on that side.
So 1 million cheaper is what you're
1
saying.
million times more energy efficient.
Okay.
But of course, maybe it will be less cheap, less time cheaper, but still it will be very competitive.
Mhm. What would you say in biocomputing? What are the key research hubs globally? Is that a European effort? Is that mostly US or China? What would you say? Like, where are the some of the leading institutions?
No, I think that it's such a crazy idea that it's rather for startups. And we know, for our to best our knowledge, there are three startups in the world which are working on biocomputing. There is Koniku in the US, there is Cortical Labs in Australia, and FinalSpark in Switzerland. So yes, so we are currently the leaders when it comes to biocomputing. But
Very,
many people are thinking about this, and of course we have users from academia who are using our laboratory and are also interested in biocomputing.
yeah. Let's touch a bit upon the ethical question. You already mentioned that there are a few things that even philosophers are debating these days, right? Like consciousness. Where would you, like, when you face these key risks of biocomputing, where would you draw the person, like your personal line when it comes to ethical boundaries? What would you support and where would you stop?
Oh, I think this is. I think we have to just test this in the practice. So for sure, we don't want to harm humans. We want to make sure that AI is aligned with our objectives. And that I think is the most important, AI alignment, and making sure that it will not manipulate us too much. So I think that's the most important, that to make sure that it will help us and make our life better, which is challenging, of course.
Yeah. I understand biocomputing is still like way down the road, right? So you're still in the experimentation phase. But if your promise will hold true, energy, which is one of the key constraints right now in AI, in training and inference, will become much more widely available, 1 million times more, right?
Hmm.
So this would lead to yeah, a sooner timeline for superintelligence, right? So
Hmm.
intelligence, artificial intelligence that is more intelligent than the sum of all humans on Earth.
Hmm.
Now, if FinalSpark is successful, there will be a very good chance that the timelines of superintelligence becoming a reality will shrink, right?
Hmm.
Do you think that is a net benefit for society?
Well, we don't know. That's why we have to make sure that AI is aligned. That especially if it becomes smarter than humans, it can become very dangerous for us if it's not aligned with our objective.
Yeah. Do you think that we as humans are ready for the most powerful, smartest, most persuasive technology ever invented?
I don't know. I don't know. I think it all depends on the engineers. I think it's a good question to engineers who are working on cutting edge algorithm in digital at the moment. I think uh, they have currently the most powerful algorithm in hands. So I think they know the best.
Yeah.
So
What
we will
What
see.
are your thoughts as a society and as a neuroscientist? What are your thoughts on how we can prepare ourselves for an AI first world? What
Well,
should
I
people
think
do?
that the only solution for us is be ready to learn and to change, because nobody can really predict what will be the job market in 10 years. Some jobs will disappear, but for sure there will be some other. And I think the only thing which is sure is the ability to learn and adapt. So that's important, and it's really stressful for many people because I think currently the world is changing much faster than in the past. So I think it can be very stressful. Mm, for some people, because a lot of things can change. So learning
That's
is, I think, the solution.
Yeah, adaptability is kind of the key thing that got us to where we are today, right? So
Yes,
doubling
absolutely.
down on that is definitely the way to go. And it will cause a lot of stress. Any change from the outside, right, that causes a being to adjust will cause a lot of stress. So I anticipate also that there will be lots of societal issues that come along as we are progressing on our AI journey.
Yes.
I don't want to end on a positive note. So, what is your hope for biocomputing shaping the future of AI and humanity?
Well, I hope that we build biocomputers which will be very energy efficient, which will revolutionize the technology. So I think it's a good thing, of course, because we are progressing, we are developing, we make things more sustainable, and it's good to observe. I'm very happy to look at the progress which is happening in general in hardware, because we have a lot of progress in hardware. I mean, biocomputing is quite long-term goal. It will take another 10 years at least to build this, but there are a lot of other small steps which people do in between. So there are a lot of new chips which are optimized on specific tasks. There is a lot of progress. So I think it's good. It's great that we are more powerful, and we are building new stuff.
Ultimately, it depends also on us humans how we are tackling this and how we
Yes,
come together and make the hopefully the right decisions.
yes, absolutely.
Great. Thank you so much, Evelina. It was super interesting, very insightful. We are at the end of our episode, and now it's time for our little end of episode game. And as
Okay,
you are a researcher, we thought we want to play with you a little game called Can I Use AI for That? And
okay,
here's how it works. We
okay.
are we are giving you a series of statements about AI
Hmm.
and its usage today. And your
Hmm.
job is to guess if the statement is true or false. Are you ready to
Okay,
play?
ready? Yes.
All right, let's do it. So I'm going to give you a statement, and
Hmm.
you'd have to guess based on your knowledge if you think this is a true statement or if I'm making things up. Or maybe an AI helped me to prepare that.
Okay.
All right. First question. I read out a statement. AI systems can convert brain signals directly into readable text with over 70% accuracy for paralyzed patients.
No, I think it's not, unless you do classification, but you cannot, if you know, like maybe 10 options and you have to choose from this, yes, but you can otherwise not.
So what would you say? True or false?
False.
False. Okay. It's actually true. Australian researchers have developed brain-computer interfaces using AI that can translate imagined text in speech into text with more than 70% accuracy. So we are
Okay,
already
interesting.
faster than I would have thought as well.
But speech to text or brain to text?
It's speech into text. So
Speech, but
probably
we talk about brain signal, no?
yes. Brain-computer interfaces
Yeah, but
that
I thought you were saying the
imagine
signals from
imagine
neurons.
speech. So imagine speech is then you don't use your voice, right?
Okay, no, I thought it's something. Okay, never mind. Yes, I will listen again when you publish the podcast.
Yes, we will fact check that. Next one is AI powered perfume companies analyze 50,000 scent molecules to
Mhm.
create personalized fragrances based on your DNA profile.
I
Is
think
that
this is
true?
definitely possible. True.
Is it possible or is it happening today? That's the question.
Yeah, I could say yes. True.
It's false.
But it's possible to do this. Yes.
It is possible. Yes, it is possible, but it's not happening right now. So AI is being used in fragrance development.
Yes.
There's some work with IBM, for example.
Mhm.
Personalized fragrances based on individual DNA profiles are not commercially available, but it's likely possible in the future. Next one. AI can identify individual giraffes from drone footage to track endangered populations and predict poaching risks.
Individual giraffes.
Yes,
Oh, this is hard question. Let's say it's true, but I'm not sure.
it's true. Yes. Microsoft announced some AI tools that can analyze drone footage to identify giraffes, track their migration patterns, and assess conservation risk in Africa. So that's true.
Okay.
All right. 1 out of 3 so far. We have found some quite difficult questions for you. Let's see what the next statement looks like.
Mhm.
AI can translate whale songs into basic emotional states and has successfully identified danger calls with 78% accuracy.
Yeah, I think it's true.
Yes, it is true. Researchers even won a prize for identifying specific dolphin whistles that
Mhm.
communicate danger with
Yes, yes.
confirmed behavioral responses.
I've heard about this. Yes. Mhm.
All right. So we have 2 out of 4. You're doing great. The last one is this statement. AI can identify which prostate cancer patients will benefit from specific drug therapies with precision diagnostics. Is that true or false?
Yes, true.
Yes, that's correct. New AI tests can identify which prostate cancer patients are most likely to benefit from a treatment with high accuracy. So, 3 out of 5, you did great. Thank you so much for joining today. It was a
Thank
pleasure
you too.
talking to you. And for everyone on the podcast, thank you so much for staying with us. If you made it to the end of the video, be sure to subscribe, like, and share with your friends, colleagues, and family. If you have feedback, drop us a line in the comments. That's it for now. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day, and auf Wiedersehen.
Thank you. Bye bye.
All right.
AI to Go podcast.